I was going to throw all these away, but they are going to become useful. Firstly, let me thank the ministers of both education and social welfare for organizing this talanoa. I think these conversations are very difficult to have, but are very necessary, because they're about the adults of tomorrow and how we are treating them. They're about our children. Before I answer the question, just let me add to the conversation on corporal punishment as a concept. You know, violent criminals are not born violent. Men who hit their wives and beat their wives, and even in some cases kill their wives, are not born that way. They are born just like every one of us, as innocent children. They become violent because they learn it. And who do they learn it from? They learn it from us, the adults. Children are like cameras, video cameras. They look at things, they record it, and they imitate the behavior, rightly or wrongly. So every time your child or a child in your family sees violence or experiences violence in the family or in school, he is learning, oh, here's a good thing called violence. That's a way to solve problems. But we all know as adults, violence solves nothing. Look at the state of the world today. Violence gets us nowhere except more violence. So I just wanted to make that point, that we are the ones who are teaching the young ones violence. And we need to always keep that in our minds. We call it discipline. Some parents call it smacking. I've always called it assault, because that's what it is. And assault is when you inflict pain, punishment, or force on another human being without their consent. And if we do it as adults, if we do it to each other, it's a criminal offense. But if we do it to children, suddenly it's okay. We rationalize it as discipline. The problem is, as you've heard from the science, it doesn't work. And secondly, there are many other forms of discipline now. You know, I grew up in a home of violence, as did a lot of people in my generation. It was, you know, the way our parents did it. And when I had children of my own, I smacked my children as they were growing up, until one day, my 2-year-old son, I hit him for something, I forget what it was, turned around and hit me back. And I was shocked. And then I looked at him and I went, where did he learn that from? You're looking at the twit that taught him violence. And I started rethinking my whole attitude towards hitting children, and coming to the conclusion that it is something that we are teaching them that we shouldn't be teaching them. I mean, yourselves, look at your own experiences. Just because you got smacked at school or caned at school, which we went through that kind of school too, does that make you better people? Are you better people because you were caned by your you know? Am I a judge because I got caned? Or is it the positive things that made you what you are, that made you want to go to school, that made you want to learn, that made you want to become a doctor or a lawyer or an administrator or whatever? I mean, these are questions that you need to ask. And I hear what the teachers say. And I think we really fail our teachers. It's the same in my country and the same in Fiji. Because the teachers have a huge amount of problems controlling classrooms. But we don't equip them with the strategies to deal with those problems when they are being trained as teachers. We don't train them in other forms of discipline. I believe. I think we should. I think you should have it as part of your training course for teachers, that there are these other ways of handling these kinds of problems in the class, of handling violent students, because there are violent students now, and there are students who are unruly. There are always, I mean, you're always going to get those kinds of students. But the solution is not to hit them. The solution is to teach them. You are there to teach them, not teach them to hit other people, not teach them that violence is the solution. Teach them other things. And I think the alternative ways of teaching, the alternative ways of parenting are really, really good tools that we can use for teachers, for parents, and even in the community. But having said all that, let me get back and try and answer the question that was posed by the moderator about whether Fiji can, remove itself from this culture of corporal punishment. I think, yes, definitely there is no question it can be done. Any country can do it. I can tell you that only 67 countries in the world, out of the 196 countries that are party to the Convention of the Rights of the Child, only 67 have actually banned corporal punishment. So even in many countries in the world, this is an ongoing debate. It's not a debate that's new to the Pacific. And I think, yes, you can. There are 3 easy ways that you can move away from corporal punishment. When I say easy ways, it means easy to say, but very hard to do. The first is legal reform. You have to change your laws. Because right now your law allows corporal punishment. It allows it in schools, it allows it in the home, it allows it even in daycare settings. Because under your law, a parent or a caregiver can administer what's called reasonable punishment. And that's the phrase used by the law. The problem with reasonable punishment is you and I would never agree on what is reasonable. Your definition of reasonable would be quite different from my definition of reasonable. And so when you use phrases like that, you're opening it up to a wide world of possibilities. But yes, you can change your law and remove that from your law, and that will remove the aspect of corporal punishment. In terms of the legal reforms, legal reforms are good, but if you're going to do it effectively, you then have to implement them. So it's not enough to reform your laws. You've got to actually implement those reforms. For example, you have to prosecute and enforce people who contravene the law. So it's not only about changing the law, it's also about implementing the changes of your law. And that's a big, big job. It's a huge job. The third thing you have to do is you then need to educate the public. Public awareness You need to get people to buy in. Yeah, I hear the music. You need to get people to buy into what you are trying to do. If the population of Fiji do not agree, and the issue has been made about consultation, if the population of Fiji and the people of this country don't agree to do this, then you're going to have endless problems doing it. One suggestion I would make, and I have made this several times, I think UNICEF was sick of hearing me make it, is, and there's been some reference to it already, there are many studies that link corporal punishment to domestic violence. Many studies. There's a lot of new ones coming out of Australia which directly link people who have been the subject of corporal punishment become violent offenders, and they become the wife beaters. But what we don't have is we don't have a specific study that says that. We only have the Palangi studies that say that for their countries. Well, that's okay, but I think we need specific studies that make this link, because that link has been made all over the world, and it's true in the Pacific as well. All the defendants that I have dealt with who are brought before the court for offences of domestic violence, you go through their history, they come from violent and dysfunctional families. That's where they are bred. And the end result is domestic violence. Now, the reason why that link is important is because you and I may disagree about whether corporal punishment is good or not. Some people say it's bad, some people say it's good. There is a difference in views. But we will all agree that domestic violence is bad. And if you link the two, and you convince the people that when you are talking about corporal punishment, you are actually perpetuating domestic violence, I think that's a valuable tool that you can use. So that every time a teacher wants to hit a student, he thinks twice, because in his brain is, this student, by me doing this, may grow up to be someone who beats his wife, who beats his children. Is that what I want? Is that the kind of teacher I am? You know, that's the message you want to convey to people. And I think if you do that, then doing your legal reforms and implementing your laws will be a lot easier. It's not to say it's an easy task, but it certainly makes it an achievable one. And the point is that if you do nothing, which a lot of countries do nothing, but talk about the dangers of corporal punishment, blah, 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 and do nothing, the problem only gets worse. So if you want to tackle the problem, there are ways to do it by changing your laws, changing the public perception, by having your teachers better equipped to deal with these things in classrooms, by having awareness programs in the villages, because you know you can involve your village councils, your traditional leaders, in leading these kinds of reforms. So it's very doable. And as I've said, 67 countries of the world have done it. Not many countries in the Pacific have done it. Why can't Fiji be the leader? Huh? Why not? I think it can be. The fact that you're having this halanoa and this conversation is a really, really good start, and I would commend you for it. And I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to it. Vinaka.